Hey guys, Sam here.
And Angela, and welcome to our channel.
So 1 year ago, we installed our raised bed garden out here, our Birdies raised beds. And so I thought today would be a great opportunity to do what?
Well, we're going to prep the garden and show you how they've held up for the past year.
You guys don't know this, but you are super lucky. Angela, tell them why. Why are they super lucky?
It just so happens that at the same time we put out our birdie bed garden video, Epic Gardening is having a really big sale.
See? You're so lucky. They are having a sale that is super good, and I'll put the details down below. What I can remember of it that was really cool is like buy 3 beds, get 1 free, and then something, I'm such a great salesman, something is 50% off. So definitely check down there below. If you have ever had an interest in getting these beds and you're seeing us after our 1 year review, thinking you might, I mean, it seems like a pretty good time. Memorial Day sale right now, just check it out if you'd like. Yeah.
We like them.
Yeah, we like you. We're just trying to share some excitement because they're really good stuff. All right, back to the show. All right, the first test that I want to do is a digging test. We've not done anything with the bed behind us since last year. I want to start digging up, probably first the brace rod, down in the middle. I want to dig all the way down there to it and just see how bad it looks. Is it rusted up? Is it coming apart? Or does it look fine? Let's find out. So I'm just going to remove our little irrigation tubing. And the brace rod is right here in the middle of this bed. So I'm just going to start digging right down here, putting the dirt left and right, getting it out of the way. We're down about a foot and we have gotten through all of our purchased soil. We're down to the fill soil or fill dirt from the woods. I'm going to put that on the other side so we keep them separated. All right, I got the water hose. I'm going to wash this off so we can better see the condition of the metal. So I use the water hose to do a little bit of hydro mining, remove the soil from around the threaded rod. This is the top one, so on this particular bed style, I think they may have changed it this year, but with this one there are 2 brace rods in the middle. This is the top, and honestly, it looks really good. So if I remember correctly, this threaded rod is not stainless. It is a zinc coated rod, but it's holding up quite well with corrosion. There's a little bit of discoloration. Yeah, there's a little bit of surface rust here and there, but honestly, after a year in the ground, it doesn't look that bad. In addition, I went ahead and sprayed off the edge of the bed to get a look at the fasteners, and they look really good as well. Now, these fasteners are stainless, at least the bolts are, but those nuts, I think these are zinc coated nuts as well. So all in all, this looks really, really good. One other thing to note, if any of the fasteners are rusted, it appears like the ones that have been out of the ground exposed to the elements and the air have rusted much more than those that have been buried below the ground. I guess in a way that would make sense, because down there below the ground probably is an anaerobic environment and you don't get as much oxygen down there to oxidize the fasteners. But it's just something that was interesting as I've looked around this bed and the others to notice why I think these rusted and these didn't. Now at the same time, here up top, you're also going to notice that there is one that is rusted next to one that is not. The thing with this area is this is actually where we've had some ants' nests that we've been trying to get rid of. They built their mounds. We took them away, built them again, back and forth. But it makes me wonder if the ant nest built around that fastener has added to the corrosion or increased the corrosion. When we were doing our fencing project on the property, we were told that ants' nests around fencing can lead to corrosion faster. So if that's true, It stands to reason that this is also the reason we have some fasteners really rusted and others not. Just a little bit of interesting science stuff going on. Kind of makes you wonder what's going on down there in Ant Town to rust the fasteners. So I'm really impressed and surprised with how the digging investigation went. I would have thought the fasteners, especially those zinc coated fasteners, would have been a lot more rusted than they were.
They've held up really well, and it's not even many of them. There's just like maybe a handful.
Yep. So I think the next thing I want to cover, or we want to cover, is letting Angela talk about the aesthetics. You know, so how do they look from a visual point? I've dug inside the bodies of the beds, or whatever, inside. Let's let you talk about the outside.
As far as how these beds look after a year, I have to say they look pretty good. I haven't noticed any fading from the sun or anything like that. It still has the nice green color. There's been a tiny bit of shrinkage with the top rim plastic piece, but that pretty much stopped after the first week or two. Some other beds that may look like birdie beds but aren't, I've seen lots of pictures and posts where people have had them collapse in on the sides or kind of bulge a little bit when you get the heavy dirt in there. I have not noticed that at all with any of our 8 beds, 9 including the newer one, and I guess 10 if you include our little plus bed. There's not been any caving in or anything like that. They have held up and are very sturdy. So as you're seeing them is how they've been for the last year. We've not adjusted them or tried to fluff them out or anything. This is how they are. One thing that we have noticed with the beds over the last year is some of the shrinkage or settling of the soil. And I would say that pretty much has to do with it being a hugelkultur bed, that we have put so much sticks and limbs and stuff like that in the bottom of the beds. They've all kind of settled down a little bit. So we did have to buy a little bit more soil to add to the beds this year, but that was something that we kind of knew was going to happen.
Yeah. I did a quick take looking at the ones we put a lot of logs and sticks into versus the others. And I mean, there's shrinkage, but it's not a whole lot. So if you will remember, if you followed us this long, or if not, I'm about to tell you, about half of these beds, we did build them as a hugelkultur style, putting logs, sticks, and wood down in the bottom and then filling it up with soil. And the other half was just straight up fill dirt from our woods and then soil on top. One of the big questions with beds like this is how much shrinkage do you introduce? Have the hugelkultur beds collapsed and the others not? Honestly, after 1 year, we've not noticed any difference. But also, 1 year is not enough time for those logs and wood debris to really break down. So as far as hugelkultur shrinkage, you're not going to see it after 1 year, at least in our case.
So that being said, there has been a little bit of shrinkage, so we are going to top off the beds a bit before we put our plants in.
So Angela's over here cleaning up one of our beds, and she just dug up, literally dug up, one of the acrylic plant markers from last year. This is straight out of the ground, no prettying up, and this has been out in the weather since last year. This is really nice to see that it's still holding up as well as it should be. If you don't know, I make these. Get sheets of acrylic, use my laser cutter and engraver, and I customize these for whatever plants you're growing and sizes and all sorts of stuff like that. So proof is in the pudding. Sam's holding pudding. These things actually do last. They are UV stable, been out in the sun all year, and still really good. This one needs a bath, which is easy to do, but otherwise, good to see that a product is still holding up exactly as I expected it to, and as I've been selling it for the past year. All right, so while we were at Home Depot, we were looking around for garden soil, and believe it or not, this organic garden soil was the cheapest thing, and it wasn't on sale. So that's awesome. It is, I mean, makes me happy to see that the organic garden soil is the cheapest thing out there. Cheaper than the commercial, well, I mean, this is commercial too, let's be real. But things like Miracle Grow and other names I can't think of, much more expensive than this, and they weren't organic. So Kellogg Garden Organics, good job. I appreciate it. Hey! So you're digging your own trench and putting power line conduit in there, huh? I don't know where you would pick up that steel.
I did it pretty recently.
Our road crew is done leveling the garden bed here, and we appreciate it. Good job, guys. Now we're going to top it off with some organics, and then we'll plant. One of the big benefits of the tall raised bed is the ease of which you get to weed the things, because you don't have to lean over and be on the ground just to weed things out. The raised beds are definitely one of these things where the only disadvantage is when you buy them, they might be a little more expensive than the short ones, and then whenever you go to fill them up. After that, honestly, these taller beds are nothing but a pure advantage as far as comfort, ease of use, maximizing, I don't know, square footage maybe, I don't know. It's just really, really good, and something we've never regretted getting the taller ones, even though it was more expense. Like I said, it's just something you buy once, cry once, and from there on out, it's just a pleasure to use. As much as weeding can be a pleasure, I guess it is with this bed.
Wow, I found a tree.
Oh, these things are woody.
I found a tree.
That's what I'm pulling up too. Trees!
Here I have some row cover, which is kind of like a papery type thing that goes over rows or grass or whatever you're growing. We have these to cover our beds right now since there's nothing visible in them because we have cats. We have one cat that likes to use the beds, and then we have neighborhood cats that like to use the beds, and we would prefer to keep them out, so this is the best way right now. We can still put our seedlings underneath them. There is still enough height that they will have time to grow, and we won't have to worry about the cats getting in the beds. So to install it, we use these little bitty clamps to go on the side of the beds and just kind of make two little swaths on top, and seems to keep them out.
Well, I think that we've done all of our tests and looky-loos and doodly-doos that we can do with the beds. I would say, number one, they're prepped. They're ready for garden planting, which we'll probably do in the next couple of days. But primarily, the focus of the video was how they held up.
And they've done very well.
They really have. I think we've covered everything. We looked at the hardware to see how rusty it is. We looked at the sides and everything, that they didn't collapse. They've not really moved. I mean, it's been a set and forget as far as garden beds go.
And also, if you weed eat around them, they don't chip or scratch and stuff like that. We've not seen any of that happen with ours. And they do get weed eated around.
Oh yeah, so it's nice to not have to tiptoe around the garden beds. You can weed eat, or as, is it Mark off Self-Sufficient Me, whippersnipper. You can whippersnipper all you want and not worry about busting them, scratching them as far as our experiences. And that's just good, right?
It is very good.
So I guess that's it as far as our 1-year review and inspection of the Birdies beds. If you're interested, there's a link to them down below where we get them from. It is Epic Gardening. If you're in the US, that's the only place to get true Birdies beds. Otherwise, throughout the world, look for Birdies Beds website and they'll get you in your country.
Well guys, thanks for coming along as we prepped our garden and looked at the garden beds. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next time on the homestead.
See you guys.
Bye.